Well, it's mid-July, it's midwinter, and it's week 29 of the golfing calendar. And today, we're live from the legendary Peter Thomson room at the Australian Golf Centre, home of the PGA of Australia and Golf Australia. Now, the hosts of Talk Birdie To Me is Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
So I've been playing golf for 50 years, and it's a stupid, stupid game. A stupid game. Can I tell you why?
Well, I'm impressed you've been playing for 50 years.
Yeah, well, look, Mum and Dad were golfers, and they gave me a little cut-down club, and, it's blah, 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 blah. Right. So I've always had this image of Ben Hogan at impact in my head. It's the most beautiful impact position in the history of the game, easily. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, 5 Lessons of the Modern Game or whatever his book was, it's the most beautiful image in golf. We'll put it on our socials. That's how big it is. Dan, we'll do it. His left-footed impact was always dead flat. Dead flat.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, ever since I read that book, so I started reading that book probably when I was 13 or 14 years old, I got given a copy. I've been trying to have a flat left foot. I could never do it. I could never do it my whole life. Anyway, what's been happening of late is that we've had these players called Jordan Spieth and Scotty Scheffler, and they have literally tap dancing all over the place, and their foot is anything but flat.
Have you forgotten about your left foot now?
So, how can I say this? I've always been back foot. My left foot at the change of direction always did a little heel shuffle in. All these things that I hated in the game, all because I was trying to have a flat left foot. So for some reason, I thought, stuff it. I'm going to have a Scheffler/Spieth left foot from this point on. I played great on the weekend. I hit the ball fantastic.
37 points.
37 points. You saw the score.
I did.
And I didn't putt any good. Like hopeless. I filmed it today. When I'm trying to keep all the weight on the left side of my left foot foot's flat. My left foot is now flat. All those years, Nick. You know when you hit the ball off the toe, the reason it starts out to the right and draws back is called the gear effect. I honestly think that it's like the George Costanza is golf. The opposite for so many people will actually work. People who think they're coming over the top, you put them on video, the club is always miles on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
It is a strange, strange game.
Did we talk about last week feel and reality, right?
Yeah, feel and real.
2 completely different things. So now that you feel as though you're dancing all over the place, your left foot is now stationary.
Yep.
Stable.
Yep. And my hips don't stall, and I don't have an old man left knee after impact. It's straightening. All these things that I've wanted for 20 years is because I gave up on the flat Ben Hogan impact position.
You mentioned before that the book, we're in the library at the Peter Thomson room.
Yeah, it'll be up there.
It's got to be here. The 5 fundamentals of golf, right?
The 5 modern fundamentals of golf will be up there.
We'll have to have a look later.
Well, mate, Lenny, could you just run your eye through the bookcase for us, please? By the way, the reason Andrew Leonard is here is because you can find us on our YouTube channel. We're actually filming the show today. So if you want an eyeful of see what happens behind the scenes, jump on. What is it, Dan? Talk Birdie To Me.
Talk Birdie To Me YouTube channel. Yeah, it's pretty simple.
there you go.
Anyway, golf's a stupid game, but it's a much better game, I think, when you're playing on a links golf course.
Well, if you ask a lot of Americans, they think that is a stupid game.
Yes, that they do. What was your experience with links golf? Because I know you played a number of British Opens. How many did you play?
I think I played 6 in total.
Did you play lead-ups?
I'm guessing. Lead-ups, as
in...
in...
like Scottish or Irish Open?
Well,
or
yeah.
Anything like that?
The problem was the Scottish Open was always the week before, but we'd play it at Loch Lomond. That's a completely American golf course. So,
beautiful place though, isn't it? Did you like it?
Certainly is. Yeah, loved it. There's a lot of mosquitoes around there, though. That's the only thing, because...
Mosquitoes in Scotland?
Oh, yeah, midges or whatever it is. Those sorts of things. But I always played well at Loch Lomond, so I enjoyed it. But it was not great preparation for links golf. However... links golf was my cup of tea, I tell you. I loved it. Loved it.
What did you like about it?
Well, the biggest thing I found was you don't have to hit the perfect shot because, it's not about playing the ball through the air. It's about using the ground to your advantage. And I love to work the ball along the ground, whether it be draws, fades. And I would see slopes that, I could use that one over there. I can bank it in off that. So it really tapped into my creative instincts. which was ideal for the way I played the game.
Yeah.
If it was just more point A to point B, I was solid at it, but I would rather tap into different shots and different parts of my game that you normally would never use on a typical American golf course, for example. So, and then the other thing was I loved the wind. Growing up in Perth, one of the most windiest cities in the world, you had to learn how to flight the ball, change trajectories, and the harder it got, the better I played.
The reason I loved it is because of the honest bounce. So if you've never played links golf before, a real links golf course, it's the same grass from the tees to the fairways to the greens to the surrounds to the rough. It's actually the same grass everywhere. So if your ball lands 10 foot short of the green, it won't be the same bounce as the green, but it'll be really, really close to it. And I always call it an honest bounce.
Yep.
And coming from the sand belt, where I grew up, if you landed just short, quite often the ball wouldn't pop onto the green. It would finish way short. And then, when the greens were really, really hard during tournaments, you could land the ball at Royal Melbourne, for instance, 6 foot on the front of the green, 6 foot on, and the ball would go all the way to the back. I wasn't Ernie Els and I wasn't Tiger. I wasn't bringing down these 8 irons from the clouds. I was doing my best to land it on the front of the green.
Yeah.
So I felt with the honest bounce of links golf, you didn't have to land 6 foot on the green to get it close to the hole. And I love that about playing over there.
So one thing I learned early on was from actually watching the way Nick Faldo used to play British Opens and on links golf course. And he used to talk about it. He would actually chart, because normally, when you go to a golf course for the first time or you're playing links golf, you go, okay, to that bunker and this green's doing this and this. But he would chart greens 40, 50 yards short of the green, seeing, okay, there's a mound there that's going to go left to right, that one's right to left, that one's flat.
Interesting.
Because he was playing the ball along the ground and he would use those slopes to his advantage.
Yeah.
And you would never see that anywhere else in the world. And the other thing I loved about it was when you play courses like the old course at St Andrews, for example, it's hard to tell sometimes when the fairway ends and when the green starts.
That's right. That's right. It's the same grass. It's just it's
exactly
just a
to your point.
It's a different level cut.
Yeah.
That's all.
And there, they have 80 yard length greens, and you can have, it's a 6-club green.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like the par 5, the 5th hole.
Yeah.
I think it is.
The other thing too I like about it is that the greens don't run at 12 or 13. They actually run at 10.
10 or 11, maybe.
10 or 11.
Yeah.
And they can put the pins in some really interesting spots to where if the greens were running at 12 or 13 and that, like a 4 or 5 club wind got up like we saw at the Scottish Open in North Berwick this week.
It's a shame they moved those tee times early. Wouldn't it have been fun if they were playing in 50 mile an hour winds?
It would have been fantastic.
It would have been unplayable.
But for us to actually watch it at a much earlier time, so we didn't have to stay up until midnight.
That's true.
But it was really, really terrific to watch. Can we talk about the Scottish Open?
No,
because
we have to.
What Bob MacIntyre did and what Rory McIlroy did. Like he hit it so far left, a block. Sorry, he's a left-hander.
Yeah.
Off the tee.
On 18.
Huge block. Finds his ball and it's reasonable. And he's got a fairway wood in his hand and he's hit it to 4 feet. And what he thought must have been, I'm going to win this tournament. So, incredible. And then Rory misses the birdie on 16, like a gimme par 5 for everybody else in the field, and then hits the 2 best iron shots of the week. And
his year, I think.
Of the year. And the 2 iron into the last, he had 4 iron in his hand, got this new 2 iron in the bag, bent it to 17 degrees, which is kind of the old 1 iron. For him to do what he did and hit it to 10 feet was good. Now, I want to ask you, look, you've got to look me in the eye when I ask you this question.
Okay.
Did he hit a bad putt?
Yes.
On the 72nd? He didn't think it was in, did he?
He didn't think it was in.
He didn't think it was in.
Especially from his reaction, because halfway down, he's because when you're making a putt, if you've got a putt to win a tournament, halfway down, if you're watching it, you're like this, you're intent. I know he's this way.
Yeah.
Remember the old
he
tilt. But halfway down, he sort of stands up and looks at it sideways, and he thought, it's missing left.
Yeah.
And his reaction when it went in, you could see him laughing, going to his caddy.
Yep.
Somehow that thing went in. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And earlier on in the round, he did the same thing. He did the early walk, but he did an early walk for missing a par putt on 12, the par 3, and somehow it lipped in. So he got pretty lucky on those 2.
I wasn't sure. I wanted to ask you because I saw an interview he did after the round, and he said he hit a good putt.
Well, he might have, but it broke early.
He didn't think it was in. He hit it. he didn't think that was in.
Yeah.
There's no way.
No, you can tell by that reaction. He
There's
just
no
thought,
way.
that one's going left. What am I going to have coming back type reaction.
Yeah.
But to your point, the 2 iron shots he hit on 17 and 18, he had a beautiful 5-iron punch under the wind. What was that, about 6 feet, I think? Rolled the putt in nicely there. Needed that, obviously. And then on 18, par for a playoff. I mean, I feel for Bob MacIntyre because no Scot has won this tournament since 1999. Here's a stat. You may think, hang on.
Who was it?
Rory McIllroy.
Yeah.
Never won in Scotland.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
No, I couldn't.
His
believe
British
it.
Open was at Hoylake, so that's in the UK, in England. But he's never won a Scottish Open, hasn't won a Dunhill Links somehow. I mean, I'm sure. I thought he'd won one of those, but he hasn't. And he's 18 years trying, so this is his first win in Scotland. And I feel for Bob because there's nothing like winning your National Open. And to get back to that 2-iron that he hit on the last, 4-iron in his hand, he was trying to hit a low draw. You don't want to go at it hard, went into the breeze like that, and he made the ideal choice. 2-iron. The commentators were actually going, I think this is too much club, but he hit the right shot. He hit a cut into the wind, and obviously the rest is history.
Yeah, it's nice when a new club goes in the bag and something magical happens. How often? I mean, honestly,
that could become his favourite club at Hoylake because Tiger Woods,
did the same thing.
Remember 2006, just hit 2 irons off the tee all day long.
So I remember what happened. I remember watching him in the tournament beforehand in Chicago when he won that at Hoylake.
Okay.
And he could not find the golf course with his driver. Remember when Tiger had the real driving issue where he was the best iron player in the world and he couldn't find a fairway like Adam Scott could find a fairway. He couldn't find a fairway like Ernie Els could find fairways. And it was the only issue in his bag. He came second that week and couldn't, like, he had the worst driving stats. And then I remember reading about Steve Williams, and Steve Williams said, if I have my way, he won't hit one driver this week. And I thought to myself, I'm getting on. Because I know if Steve Williams says that, then he's not. He actually hit one driver for the whole week, and he won by a million miles, didn't he?
And that driver went 2 fairways wide, by the way.
Did it really?
Yeah, it was a nightmare. But he put on the best long iron ball striking display for the rest of the week. I played that week. I think I missed the cut. But you either had to hit driver and take on fairway bunkers or lay back short of them, which he did all week, but he's hitting 4 irons, 5 irons, where a lot of guys are hitting shorter irons in, but they were taking on the bunkers. If you go on those bunkers, it's a one-shot penalty because you've pretty much got to come out sideways. So he put on a clinic and was the deserved winner.
He won by a mile, didn't he? Like 4 or 5 shots.
He won by a few. I know Rory won by 4 or 5 as well around there, but the course was much softer when Rory played, and he played it more through the air. Hopefully they get a bit more sun and a bit more wind, but I think there might be a bit of rain in the forecast.
One of my pet peeves is when people design a links course in the middle of nowhere and they try and call it a links course. Can we just get this clear, folks? The number one thing for a links course, if you're going to call it a links course, it has to play like a links course. That's number one. Number two, now, I've heard 1,000 different explanations why links golf is called links golf, but I'll give you the best one that I've heard and the one that makes sense to me, and I want to know, because you've probably heard the same thing. There is the ocean, and then there is farmland, and then there is this stuff they call links land. And links land is what links the ocean to farmland.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why they play it on links golf courses, because you can't farm that land. So the other thing, if you're going to have a links golf course, it's got to be on links land. You can't put a golf course in the middle of nowhere, put some pot bunkers around the joint, and call it a links golf course. It becomes a joke. It's just stupid.
You have to be able to see the ocean, I would have thought.
Got to be able to see it, or at least hear it. You got to be able to hear it. You got to be able to smell it.
Yeah.
It's got to play like a links golf course. It's got to be on links land.
Yeah. And talking links golf brings back old school golf. Did you see Rory hitting persimmon?
Oh,
the persimmon wood earlier in the week. It was so good. I got the numbers here somewhere.
Yeah, go on, get them up.
I got to find it. But
folks, if you don't know what we're talking about while you're getting the numbers, if you don't know what we're talking about, they do it every once in a while. They'll get the TrackMan on a tee, and they'll give one of the best players in the world a persimmon club with a steel shaft, screws in the face of it, sawn lines. They actually made those lines with a saw that you would cut. Yeah. A piece of wood to make a doghouse, right?
So good.
That's what they would cut it with. Anyway, they gave Rory. And what were the numbers? Which one are you going to first? Persimmon numbers first? Or
I'll go persimmon first, and he's using the modern golf ball.
TP, he's a TP5 man, yeah.
169 mile an hour ball speed. Get this, 4,400 RPM, so a lot of spin.
Lots of spin.
285.7 yards.
200
That was
what?
the
Total?
carry, I think.
Right.
Was that carry?
I thought it was 265-yard carry.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's total. 285. Modern driver, which he uses, you can add another 55 yards onto that drive. That goes to show... And the numbers was 181 mile per hour ball speed, and the biggest difference, less than half RPMs. So it's the spin.
Yeah.
It's the spin they put on the ball.
That's right. That is exactly right.
And we've spoken about this in previous ones. Put more spin on the golf ball, and guess what?
And away you go. And if you haven't listened to some of our podcasts, when I was with TaylorMade, and this is a long time ago, they were telling the story to everybody who would listen that DJ, Dustin Johnson, he'd hit the TP5 and the TP5X, and the TrackMan said it was 12 steps difference in carry. So it just shows you that exponentially, you and I, at our 102 mile an hour clubhead speed these days, you and I,
at the most,
we wouldn't notice the difference between a TP5 and a TP5X, or a Pro V1 and a Pro V1X, or whatever. We wouldn't. But if your clubhead speed is at 120 miles per hour plus, then it really does give you an extra 12 steps.
You were saying before that it might become his new favourite club after the Scottish Open. Do you guys have a club that you played with that you just knew if you used that, if it was the right shot, you'd never miss?
I told you that last week. The Mizuno 3-wood that I cut down and down and down and down. I had it for as long as I could, and I caved the face in of the thing before it went. That was my favourite club ever. Beautiful.
Well, I love my Ping drivers, and I had one. It was the i20 before the model I've got now, which is a G400, and they've got more models since. But this club, I used to I couldn't miss a fairway almost. It didn't go very far, but I couldn't miss a fairway. And I loved it on those tight holes. You had out of bounds left, water right, and just boom, little straight one up the middle.
By the way, my Titleist T100S irons right now are just absolutely sensational.
I bet they are. Now,
and the 150s coming out are going to be even better.
One other thing with the Scottish Open, did you see the Sam Burns incident?
No.
The ruling. The ruling.
Now, I didn't understand this ruling. So he hit a shot into a layered bunker. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, quite often...
Revetted.
That's it. They will layer a bunker, they call it revetted, with sods of grass. And quite often there'd be 20, 25 sods. And that's how they make it look the way they make them look. And he hit a shot into it, and it just didn't. It went into the face and just stayed there. So what was he trying to do, Nick? Because I didn't understand the ruling when it was being explained.
The top layer, there was like a seam, I believe, and the seam, if it was in the way of his follow-through or something like that, you had relief from that. And the rules official said, look, if this was anywhere else on the golf course, we'd probably give him relief. In the end, he didn't get relief, so I was a little confused about it myself. But when he actually played the shot, he never came close to hitting the seam, and the ball, it bounced back into the bunker and cost him a couple of shots.
Because the ball wasn't in sand, it was in this...
That's not part of the bunker.
It's not part of the bunker. But there was a local rule suggesting that if you were in a gap in a sodded area that was fixed up,
something like that,
if he would get a drop.
If he'd have buried in that face, he would have got a free relief. But
what did he end up making on that hole?
I don't know, maybe a 7 or an 8 or something. I don't know what he made, but it cost him the golf tournament. And the other guy who was up there again, Scotty Scheffler, tied for third. He's a machine, that guy. He's ball striking. He hasn't been outside the top 12 in the last 19 starts. Just think about that. Crazy. If he gets his putter going, it's over.
He's got great footwork.
There you go.
Great footwork. Hey, just watching the National Open, the Scottish Open. We've got a British Open next week, which isn't really National Open, but it's a very, very important Open. You got German Opens, you got Italian Opens, you got Australian Opens. In a perfect world, with the PIF money, would it be just sensational if all the big National Opens became more significant in world golf? If I'm in charge, that's what I'm doing. If I'm in there next to Jay Monahan, and I say, Jay, shut up. All right, just shut up for a little while.
Jeez.
Let's just talk some sense here, all right? If we're going to make some big tournaments and use some money, why don't we have a world tour and use the most special places in those nations to play? and let's get some of the best players down there to play. Let's try and fill, 50 of the top 100 players coming down to play in the Australian Open, 50 to go and play the Italian Open, Wales, Scotland, Irish Open, where else? China Open. I don't care. I don't care. But if they really mean what they say, which is we're going to open up golf to the rest of the world, to get the PIF money behind national opens is a no-brainer. Yeah. Men and women.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. The thing I heard earlier in the week, someone comment about, and I love this idea, is to get about a 4-week PGA Tour swing around that British Open. So you go Irish Open,
yep.
Scottish Open, yep. British Open,
and
then after that, somewhere in Europe, like a German or a Spanish or a French Open, and you have these 4 weeks on the best 4 golf courses you can find.
So what do you call it? A European swing?
Well, European swing of the PGA Tour, because they're looking. What have they got? This partnership at the moment, and they played the Scottish Open. That's part of the PGA Tour. You've obviously got the Open Championship, but you need to almost bookend those two, I think, and really make it links golf leading up into the British Open, so that these players are playing that style of golf for several weeks rather than just 1 or 2 weeks of the year.
What was the tournament that was on this week? That was the secondary tournament.
The Barbasol.
The Barbasol. So would that mean that the DP World Tour might travel to America and play
They were playing
Barbasol?
They were playing over there. So the guys who didn't get into the Scottish Open on the DP World Tour, they went over there and played. Jason Scrivener, he was over there playing. Mate of mine, Soren Kelson, was over there.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
So they got this partnership going. You go here, you go there, which is a great idea.
So I know the PI. I know they want to help women's golf. Don't ask me. I know that, but I'm telling you, I know it.
Well, they've been the Aramco for how long?
For so long.
With the Ladies European Tour.
So I think the LPGA. I think they're going to get a world tour. It's as simple as that. They're just going to get the best players. There's not going to be a secondary tour. The secondary tour might be the one where some of our younger players are playing right now, and that's their qualification to get on this LPGA World Tour. But I love your idea about having a European swing, and then if the FedEx Cup finishes up in September, and then you play a President's Cup or a Ryder Cup, then you've got October, November, December to play 6 or 7 national opens.
Love it.
Around the rest of the world. It
Southern
Hemisphere makes sense, doesn't
South
it?
Africa, as you say, you've got these national opens in the Southern Hemisphere. Let's play those in that time of the year.
At their best courses. What's the French Open? Where would you play that?
Oh, what's that, Montfontaine?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been there. I hear it's just incredible.
Incredible.
The one where it's at Le Golf National, I mean...
No, don't play...
Good stadium course. But
Great for the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Tick it off for the Ryder Cup.
For sure.
But for their National Open, let's play the best courses at...
Well, it's even the Scottish Open was at Renaissance. That's a modern links. Down the road, they've got Murfield, North Berwick. I mean, whether they have the infrastructure for North Berwick, I doubt it. Maybe a bit too short, but wouldn't it be great to see the Scottish Open at Murfield every now and then?
Side note, I missed the second stage of the European Tour School by a shot at Renaissance Club years ago.
Okay.
I stole 3 towels from the joint, and they're still the most beautiful towels I've got at home.
You've still got them?
I've still got them. They're my gym towels. So if you see me at the gym, anybody, and I've got pink towels, they've come straight from the Renaissance Club from 25 years ago. All right, let's just put out here on the 9th. After, straight away on the 10th tee, we've got a caller, Berkey from Buninyong. He came in last week, wants to know something from you. So we'll get that in a tick.
Sounds good.
And we've got all the other regulars too. Coming up next. Righto, we're in the Peter Thomson room at Golf Headquarters here in Australia. It's a beautiful room, and it's still lacking your book, Nick. I saw your book yesterday, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, it's next to my bed. I've read about half of it. It's quite good.
Okay.
Well, it's not bad. I haven't read the other half.
Quite good. Okay. Thanks.
It is. It's quite good.
It's a very underwhelming recommendation.
I'm telling you, it's quite good. Now, it's very, very soon we're going to get to Berkey from Buninyong. Okay. So we're changing things up a little bit. He's going to ask the masterclass question.
Okay.
So I don't mind that at all.
What do we call him now?
You're going to call Berkey now.
Should we get him on the phone?
Yes,
please.
please.
All right.
Yeah, do that.
Hopefully he's here.
We've got the feedback to get through as well. What else we got? The results.
Results.
Yeah, I want to get the
and
results
your top
this week
5
as well.
Top 5?
Hello, Shane speaking.
Shane, or Berkey from Bunningyong. Is that you?
G'day.
It's Mark Allen. It's Mark Allen and Nick O'Hearn. How are you?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're well.
Good,
hey,
mate.
thanks for sending in your question, but I want you to ask it again.
Yeah, I had a question about putting in windy conditions.
Perfect.
Not
All
a bad question
yeah.
considering what we saw at the Scottish Open.
That's perfect
Yeah.
timing, I think. Yeah, actually, Berkey, one thing that really I struggled with the long putter when I used the broomstick was putting in those windy conditions.
Yeah, how hard was that?
It was really tough. I wish I'd have used a short putter back then when I was playing those British Opens or Scottish events and things like that. But you just got to get used to it. And first and foremost, a lot of it is in the setup. I would recommend widening your stance quite a bit so that you get that nice lower body stable base, because the wind's going to buffet you around a little bit. The other thing I would say is maybe just lean into your lead leg. So if you're right-handed, just lead a little bit of weight into that left leg. Again, that'll provide a little bit of stability and sort of get you a bit more on top of the ball. And then lastly, with the putting stroke, something I used to like doing was to just speed up the tempo of my stroke a little bit, because if you have a very slow backswing, the wind can sort of buffet the putter face around, and then all of a sudden your path goes all over the place. So if you have a slightly faster tempo, try and match the backswing and the follow-through in that speed. That'll just roll the ball nicely on those windy conditions. And then the other thing you got to do is factor in the wind on the break. So if you've got a right to left putt and the wind's out the right, well, guess what? You've got to aim it a little bit further out to the right. But when you are putting in the wind, don't worry too much about holding the putts. Just trying to get those longer ones within that 2-3 feet circle so they become a little less stressful. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And I will put a video out for you a bit later too, Shane.
Oh, very good. No, very helpful.
Hey, Shane, how's your golf? What are you playing off?
2 at the moment.
That's not
But
bad.
I have a lot of trouble with the
Wow.
wind. I'm only lightweight, so I get blown around a bit.
Rightio.
Where is Bunningyong, by the way?
Yeah, where is it?
It's up near Ballarat, so good little track.
Yeah, just a little bit south of Ballarat.
Okay,
Okie doke.
beautiful.
All right, Berkey, well, have fun,
thank
mate, and hopefully you get down to scratch. Let us know if you do.
We'll be aiming for that, but yeah.
All right, well, make sure you do. Make sure you do. Berkey from
Thanks,
Bunningyong there.
guys. Love the show.
Good on you.
Great to chat.
Mighty effort getting the other two. If you didn't play golf like you and I did as kids, and you weren't playing every day later on, I reckon getting the scratch is one of the great things in sport that he can do.
Well, hang on. Single figures. What was the stat? Is it like 1% of golfers are in single figures?
Yes.
Is that right?
That is correct. In fact, if you regularly shoot in the 80s, you're in the top 5% of golfers on Earth.
Wow. Okay.
It's just shooting in the 80s.
There's hope for you, Dan.
Oh, yeah, I've got a fair way to go for that.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let's break 100 then.
Right, let's time for some feedback, Dan.
Okay, we've got a
What
bit
do
of
you got?
feedback. Well, we've got a fair bit this week, actually. So here we go. This is from Mick Golfer. Now, Mick has said, "G'day, Nick and Mark. Just watching the Scottish Open. Every time Brian Harman appears, I have to look away. Can you please explain the twitching he demonstrates during his pre-shot routine? Why does he do it? I find it irritating."
He looks a lot like Ricky Ponting as well, which is irritating. I like Ricky, but I don't want him. I don't want this guy. I don't want Ricky to be portrayed as this dude. It's an unusual left-handed swing. You're probably in a better position to talk us through it.
I'm thinking they're talking about the amount of looks at the target and the twitching of the hands and things. It drives me nuts too. It's as though he doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's quite non-committed, to be honest. So that's... If he does it, look, if he has 8 looks every single time, well, then that's his routine. But I don't think he does. I think he just has enough looks until he's ready. It's a bit like watching Novak Djokovic serve in tennis. That sort of a thing where he takes all these bounces. You don't know how many he's going to take. So I think in that regard, pre-shot routine, you really want to have that consistency, and I really struggle to look at it as well. So, yeah.
I'm with you. Speaking of Novak, it'd be handy if we could have a chair umpire come in every once in a while and penalise a point like Novak got in the men's final.
Exactly. Is he? You reckon that guy Brian Harman's as annoying as Keegan Bradley?
No. No, Keegan's number one.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
number one. What do you got?
Josh Bennett has written in. He doesn't agree.
Okay.
Josh has said, if you want to see what Keegan Bradley's like off course, watch the YouTube video on the Bob Does Sports channel. You see he's a good guy.
Yeah, no, I've seen it actually. Someone sent that to me. It might have been, what's his name?
Might have been Josh.
Might have been Joshy. Someone sent it to me. He looks like a great guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Most of them are.
He's just annoying on the golf course.
He's just annoying and a very, very hard watch. That's all.
It is.
So you guys talking about gimmies last week. Bradall72 has written in, never in a comp or when it counts towards a handicap score. That's
Okay.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way. Look, a lot of people, that's fine, and that's the way you play golf. I need to get a bit of feedback. Last week, I reckon it's okay if it is literally unmissable and it's in a stable for a par comp. I'm still happy for it to happen if everybody's in your group. You've all got to be in.
If it's so easy, what about Nick's feedback last week? Where
Yeah,
Nick said, if it's so easy, why don't you just shoot it in?
Yeah, I know. It's just so much quicker. The game just goes quicker. That's all. It's very social and goes quicker. But I agree that if it's a stroke round,
Yes.
in a stroke round, everything goes in. That I should have said that last week. I didn't. Stroke rounds or monthly medals or club championships, everything goes in. But if you're messing around with a Stableford comp or a park comp and you're tapping away 1 foot putts,
Yep. Someone's had a whack at you here. Sorry, Mark.
I'm not going to call the manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Anyway,
Someone's had a whack at you here, Nick.
A
This
whack
is-
at me. Good.
A bit of a whack at you. This is
Okay.
regarding the video. So we put a video on socials last week of you shooting, you playing a shot right-handed.
The chipping around Kingston Heath.
it was very annoying
Yeah.
how good it was.
Legend of Sunshine has written in and said, Nick Ohu is just showing off now.
Yeah, he is.
Oh.
And I think it's true.
I think it's true too.
Well,
he
he-
grabbed my
he
long
was doing-
wedge and said, "Watch this."
That is a load of bollocks, and you know it. I'm just glad I didn't shank it.
It was a very good shot.
It
I
was.
wish you did. That would have been great.
That would have been hilarious,
Yeah, that
actually.
would have been
Some more
funny.
feedback on masterclasses, by the way. This is a question for you guys, actually, from Canton GBR. Do you wonder if GBR is Great Britain? Could be.
Yeah.
Yep.
I reckon it would be.
Tick.
This is on your masterclass last week, Marco. I love the subtle, not so subtle dig at Paul Gow. Are you thinking, by the way, harder swing or faster at the bottom when you say pop it?
Well, I think if you want to hit the ball further, at some stage you've got to go a little harder. So it's everything. That's your body turning through. That's your hands going through. It's a whole lot. That's you got to pop it, and you don't want to go full lunatic. Hello, Paul Gow. He listens every week, by the way. Paul
Oh,
Gow.
good.
You don't want to go full lunatic too often. Not too often. Just once around, really. That's it. That's your limit, going full
Maybe
lunatic.
downwind and downhill.
Yeah,
When a
and
wide open
wide
fairway.
open fairway.
Go full lunatic.
Two more bits of feedback here. This is one for you, Nick. Hey there, guys. Really enjoying the podcast. Just watching some of the Scottish Open first round last week, I thought Rory may have taken on some of your tips about tilting his head and pulling the trigger more quickly on his putts. It looked a bit like it, and he was dropping some good putts.
Yeah, he look, he's putting, I think he takes 2, maybe 3 looks now. He used to take 4 or maybe even more. His full swing, he's still taken too many. I think 2 looks for him with his full swing would be fantastic. He did just win the Scottish Open, though, so I think it's whatever's working for him, he probably should stick with. But to me, I think he'd play even better if he just reacted more.
Oh, I'm with you. And by the way, he doesn't take nearly as much time in rounds 1 or 2 than he does in rounds 3 or 4. I've noticed this.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't really watched the last
I had a
opening
good
rounds.
look at the
That's
Scottish Open
interesting.
this week because it was at the right time, and it was almost practice round 1 and 2 sort of stuff. Then
That's when he shoots the low ones.
That's when he shoots the low ones.
Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Last bit of feedback, and I think this is the most important one of the week. The most important piece of feedback of the week.
Okay.
Hey, fellas, you spoke about a nice Chardonnay from Shadowfax you were drinking recently. Can you tell me which one it was, as they have 3 different ones, and I want to get it? Many thanks. Love the show.
There we go.
That's from Neil Dyson, by the way.
They do have 3 Chardonnays. They have one from Mid-Hill, one from Geelong, and one from the Macedon Ranges.
Which one did we have?
Macedon Range Chardonnay. Fabulous drop.
It was so nice.
Yeah,
Like,
it was.
I'm not a big wine,
but
but
to be
that was
honest,
easy to drink.
All 3 are really good, but that one was special.
Nice. That's it.
Right, time for some results. I saw Steph Kyriakou in the last group with Lynn Grant. Didn't quite finish second, but she had a really, really good week.
Well, I texted you, I think, early in the week when I saw Lynn Grant's golf swing, and I said, this has got to go into your top 5, but apparently it was already there.
It was already there.
Because
I'll kick someone out and put her in at 2 and 3.
she is very, very impressive. But she shot a final, Lynn Grant, final round 68 to win by 3 from Alison Corpuz, who just won the US Open. She had a 65 to finish. Now, Lynn Grant, she was on 59 watch, by the way, in round 3. She was 9 under through 12, I think.
Yep.
And then a spectator came up to her and said, hey, do you think you can shoot 59?
Are you joking?
No. And
I
guess
didn't know
what?
that.
Guess what? She started thinking to herself, oh, maybe I can.
She should have been ejected from the course, that lady.
Well, I don't know
You
if it was a
can't
lady
do
or
that.
a man. I'm not sure. It was
Oh
a
my
spectator.
God.
But that
Because
was,
no woman has shot 59 yet.
Annika.
Oh, no,
Annika.
Annika. Sorry.
Anyway,
One.
Great win for the Swede because she's won 5 times in Europe. One of those was a mixed event. Remember the Scandinavian mix where she won by 9 shots, by the way.
Beat the blokes by 9 shots.
Well, she hits it further than a lot of the blokes, so that always helps.
Yeah, by the way, Steph Kyriakou was not going to pass her the whole day.
Was she?
Yes.
Wow.
Little Steph.
Steph's getting it out there.
Anyway,
but Steph finished here, tied 4th. You said she struggled coming in late. I didn't see the golf, but apparently she learned a lot about her nerves and the mental game, so she'll take that into
She made a mess of 17.
Did she?
Yeah, she could have finished birdie.
Oh, right, okay.
She finished bogey birdie.
Okay.
So, look, a good last hole after messing up 17, but fantastic to see her up near the top.
Minjee Lee, another top 10, tied 7th. You needed that at the US Open, didn't you, for your bet?
Yeah, that's right.
Another solid result from Grace Kim, 11th. Gabby Ruffles tied 23rd.
Come on, Gabby.
Really good result.
Come on,
against,
Grace. I want to see them both play well.
Yeah, well, they've both basically locked up their cards for next week, obviously. We forgot to mention Minwoo Lee and Lucas Herbert at the Scottish. Minwoo tied for 35. Very steady, though. He had rounds of 68, 69, 69, 70, so that's good form. Yep. Lucas Herbert tied 60th. At the Barbasol event, the opposite event, a couple of the Aussies that made with the cut were Cameron Percy, tied 16th, which is a good result for him. Moves him to around 140 in the FedEx Cup. He needs that. Yep. Scrivener tied 40th. Greg Chalmers, 66th. And I don't know if you saw the end of that, but the guy who won, Swede Vincent Norman, one-shot lead play in the last, made an absolute mess of the final hole. Ends up hitting a Rory putt, one that looking like missing all day long for bogey, an 8-footer for bogey, lips it in and then wins on the playoff. So
just made a par on the playoff hole too, I saw.
He did, yeah.
Okay.
Beat England's Nathan Kimsky, I believe. And Champions Tour, Steve Stricker.
Again, another mention on this show.
3rd major this year, thank you very much. They were playing Firestone. Wow. Have you ever played Firestone?
No.
Terrible golf course. Don't
go. Well, thank you for
it's
clearing
horrible.
that up.
I hated that golf course.
Because every time I saw Tiger win on it, how many times did he win there? About 8 times?
Oh,
something crazy. Yeah. I thought, wow, I want to play this joint. And then they kept on talking about the Firestone company just built it for their workers, built a 36-hole joint just for the workers. And every time I went there, I never went there. Every time I was on the telly, I'm like, wow, this looks like an interesting place to play. But you're about the 3rd person who said it's no good.
It's a brutal golf course. Every par 4 is long and slight dogleg, and if you miss the fairway by a metre, you're done, basically. Yeah, okay. But a couple of the Aussies did well. Mark Hensby tied 16th. Tied 21st. And who was 16th? That was Pampling. Pamps. He did pretty well.
Greenberg? What about Richard Green?
Tied 35th.
Not bad.
So, yeah, not too bad. That was so that's his 7th major, 3rd this year for Stricker. Yeah, as you do. Not too bad. And then we were talking about Aramco on the PIF on the Ladies European Tour. Nelly Corder had a nice 4-shot win
business
over Charlie Hull. That was the PIF London event.
Did you see Charlie Hull had a 10 and still shot 68 or 5 under or something? She had a 10 on a par 5 and she still shot 68.
Yeah, she had 10 birdies. I think she might have shot 67, actually. It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Very impressive.
Righto, time for the top 5. So, last week...
What is it?
Well, last week we were asked about crazy routines before hitting.
Yes, that's right.
Crazy rehearsals. Ooh. So, we were talking about what you see in somebody's practice swing or rehearsal right before they hit. Some of them look absolutely ridiculous. And then when the ball's in front of them, the swing looks quite straightforward and normal. And we talk about this a lot. What is feel and real, quite often two totally different things. So we're going to go with the craziest rehearsals ever seen in golf.
So we're talking practice swings before you get into the ball?
The practice swing rehearsal.
Yes, as opposed to the golf swing.
So you can see what they're working on. You can see what they're actually trying to feel when the ball is there.
This should be good.
Number 5, Corey Pavin. Yes. It's the first time we ever saw it, someone trying to loop a big figure 8 outside, inside on the way back, outside on the way down, much worse than anything that's ever been seen. And then the ball was there and he goes straight up and straight down and he just striped the ball. So Corey Pavin, number 5.
I played my first round, I might have mentioned this before, first time I ever played Colonial.
Yeah.
And I played with Corey Pavin. And all I did was just watch what he did because he owned that place. Yeah, and it was so good to watch.
How many of those tartan jackets? He won a couple, I reckon.
I think he did.
Yeah, he won a couple. Number 4, you'll be disappointed. But Alex Noren.
I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, because you told me he's got the worst ever, so I've got him at number 4.
Well,
I've got him
it's
at
not
number
the
4.
worst. It's just the most drastic I've seen.
I've never seen anyone exit left on the follow through in their practice swing like this bloke. It is a joke. And that results into the biggest divots in the history of golf every time he hits a golf ball. And the divot goes left.
If you want to learn how to hit a punch cut, 3/4, whatever, left to right fade, there, just watch Alex Norton pre-shot.
Anyway, he stripes it. Justin Rose at number 3.
Ooh, yes.
And this is when he was going through that squat stage of his swing evolution, where he would get to the top and it looks perfect, and then he would literally bend his knees and stick his bum as far backwards as he possibly could, and then just bring his arms down in front of his body. Then he'd quickly reset.
He'd almost get the butt of the club on the ground,
That's
didn't
it.
he? Yeah.
That's it. And then while he was trying to, he would just go back to his setup, hadn't moved his feet, and make the most beautiful swing you've ever seen. So what he was trying to do versus what he was actually doing, poles apart.
Feel and reality.
Okay, number 2, 2 Australian kids
Okay.
who I like and who are seeing a golf coach who I really rate, Bradley Hughes. Bride McPherson and Tom Power Horan
Oh, yeah.
doing the no practice swing, and they only do the follow through.
Yes.
Unusual. Never seen it before. I've tried it in my crazy days, trying to search for something that works. It actually teaches your body to go through correctly, and if you're prone to flipping through the ball, it's quite good there as well. But very unusual.
It is.
I've never seen anything like it.
That's like an equal number 2, is it? Like 2 people.
Yeah. Well, they're both doing the same thing.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
No, this is my top 5.
I understand.
And my number 1, craziness. What Jordan Spieth has been doing in the last, or maybe not lately, his swing actually looks really good at the moment. Could win next week. Probably about 3 months ago, he had a 6-month period of madness in his rehearsal.
Yeah, spaghetti arm going, right?
Spaghetti arm, inside on the way back, over the top, and then on the way down, laying the club off on the way down as well. And then you get up over the ball, and just go straight up and straight down, and he's hitting good shots.
There you go.
Ridiculous. Anyway, there's my top 5.
Love it. That was a good one.
I'll finish up this way. What was the one thing in your golf swing? At the start of the show, I told you the one thing in my golf swing that I've hated for so long, and I couldn't get rid of it until today when I threw out everything that I thought I knew in golf, and I did the complete opposite, and it's fixed it.
Yep.
Was there anything in your golf swing that you just, when you saw it, you just didn't like?
Yes. So early on for me, my coach Neil Simpson used to say, look, the most important part about the golf swing is the transition. Transition from the backswing to the downswing, I called it the through swing. So that first move from the top. And we used to work on a little bump of the hip, little rotation, little turn, okay? But
textbook.
Yes, I would love to have it as textbook. But for me, my first move was always arms would come down first, and I hated that. I wanted my left hip, being a left-handed golfer, right hip for the right-handed golfer out there. I wanted that to move first. But like if you watch the old Ben Hogan videos we were talking about earlier, now you can spin your hips out too early, but I could never do it. So that was my magic move. Whenever I did that nicely, it gave me great width, and it got me working my through swing from the ground up, because that was the feeling I always wanted. I didn't want it from the top down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. And no, don't take this the wrong way. Okay? Don't take it the wrong way.
Like,
do you think, is it because you started down with your hands and arms, do you think that, is that one of the reasons why you think you might have lost distance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted that late
late
power, that late snap, and I struggled with that. But
just
I was
didn't
never,
get the snap.
Yeah, I was never the most powerful golfer. But it made me accurate, which was good, obviously. But I always wanted that little hip shift. I mean, you watch Rory, for instance, they slow-mo his. And
it's unbelievable.
I mean, the twisting and the torque.
Tiger. Unbelievable.
Brilliant.
It's where the power comes from. Always great to talk golf, Nick. See you next week.
Cheers, mate.